show of hands, how many are familiar with the with Gartner MSSP or the hype cycle in general? Excellent. Perfect. So a couple things before we talk about that. One of the things that has become very apparent is Gartner's kind of standing still right now, and I'm seeing that from an observational perspective. We've been in a long-standing Gartner in the Gartner ecosystem for many years, and when it comes to emerging technology, this is about as good as it can do right now. And so, as it relates to security services. So, one thing that is important to note, there is no 3 to 6 year horizon that they're looking at right now. They're kind of waiting right now. They're getting feedback. And the reason for that, there's an influx of AI companies right now that are getting gobbled up by hyperscalers. They pop up, they get gobbled up, technology is going to get put into the platform. And so we're seeing this rinse and repeat scenario happening over and over again. And so right now, I think there's a small pause going on from a technology perspective, right, for Horizon. Because this will have an impact right here, right? AI is real. I mean, I'm seeing it right now in our data center. I'm seeing the AI workloads coming through. I'm seeing the investments coming through. I'm seeing the R&D going through. So I think there's a lot of wait and see going on right now. And again, we'll see this in the platforms first. Platforms are going to see it. And by platforms, I mean the hyperscalers. You'll see a lot more security related services coming out from the hyperscalers. Now, we're going to talk. How many are familiar with XDR as a now thing, right? Yeah, great. So XDR is real. I would say there's a lot of right now question marks right now on the longer cycle, and so the reason why I bring that up is because the hype cycles used to be really easy to do, right? I mean, you would see the actual hype cycle coming through, technology going through. It was almost like prescriptive at one point, right? I mean, I'm talking about the last probably 5 years. You would see emerging technologies. They would actually go through the cycle. They would get fulfilled and rinse and repeat, right? You see the new things coming in. You would see the actual movement happening. That's gone right now. There is none of that, right? So a big caveat right now. So again, just we're gonna cover XDR just for a second here, because it is real technology. It covers a lot of good endpoints, right? I mean, it's basically like an aggregation way to look at your at different endpoints, different technology sets, different frameworks, right? It's a holistic view for detection and response, right? And so there's a lot of investments going on, and this is from a maturity perspective, getting faster on the curve. That is one observation I did make, right? It's becoming very mature technology very fast, and I will show why in a minute. But just some quick stats. I mean, basically, all these stats are just saying that there's going to be more and more movement over to public cloud. That's it. Every single study here is showing that in the next 2-3 years, the hyperscalers are going to take a bigger piece of the pie. They're making the investments. They're making the scale out. They're buying all these very interesting companies that are doing good work when it comes to AI and actual workload. They're legitimate companies with good R&D. So hyperscalers are making massive investments, and the market is still rebounding into those investments, right? So, and again, but that doesn't mean that everything is going just into like a pure hyperscaler. I mean, there's a lot of good platform companies out there that are not hyperscalers. There's a lot of good IaaS companies that are out there, but it is very much a hybrid approach. Less and less on-prem. I'm seeing this from our customers right now when they talk about their IT budgets, right? We had conversations about IT budgets, and they are changing, but they're changing on how the spend is being done, right? So less and less companies want that volatility when it comes to infrastructure spend, right? Right now, historically, what happens in enterprises, they come in and they buy equipment, refresh equipment, and it's a big spike that comes into the board, right? They hate that. What they want to see is a run rate that is more linear, right? They want that, and so hyperscalers have an answer for that. But so do other manufacturers now. So the market is catching up to this need, right? To this demand of spend. Okay, so this is the latest slide that was put out by Gartner on third-party cloud-native security tooling, right? And you can see the landscape is very complex now, and it's just going to get more complex because there is no AI in here in any way, shape, or form, right? There's no AI workload in here. There's just conceptual things that talking about your core infrastructure, right? Here's your core infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. That's your core, and then your perimeters all around it. All these different mechanisms that I've been talked about for years, like CASB, for example, it's a wrapper, right? Everybody wants to see an API in front of every single technology stack that's being put out right now. And that's for your developers. That's a mandate, right? The market demands that now. So if you don't have an API, if you're an IT shop and you have an API of some sort that you're investing in, you're going to become obsolete in the near future. And so there's a lot of investment going on to the API, right? But this is where XDR really plays in. So imagine all these endpoints here, all this different technology. This is where XDR is that overlay, is that layer on top of that. Is that complexity, right? This is the complexity curve. And so I brought up these hype cycles from the past, right? The 2021, 2022, and then 2023 will be a little different. So typically, again, CASB, very mature technology, right? SASE, mature technology. Confidential computing actually struggling, still even in 2021. And there's tech reasons why confidential compute is struggling. The enclaves are not big enough right now. I think that's the feedback that we get from a lot of clients, right? The compute clusters, the way you set them up, you have to aggregate a lot of equipment. The manufacturers are not cut up to this compute concept, right? The databases are getting bigger, not smaller. And so these enclaves are limited right now on how big they could be. And so from a technology perspective, there's early investment being done and actual companies using this. But they're having to piece a lot of hardware together to make it happen, and that's not a good customer experience. And so then we look at 2022, right? And new concepts started coming up. So quantum computing as a service started popping up, right? And I know companies are using quantum right now in their manufacturing, and they are building out data halls of quantum for their manufacturing, right? We'll see more and more of that as it becomes an infrastructure choice. I was talking to a couple people, and we're talking about manufacturing, right? And we used to talk about small nanometer, 3 nanometer, 5 nanometer, 10 nanometer. Now we're talking angstroms, so even the technology is getting smaller and smaller. So the quantum compute side is already done. It's already live. I mean, there are companies that are actually running quantum compute clusters right now. The biggest of the big, right? Your big manufacturers you can think of, and they're real, but they take up a lot of space, and they give you a very low qubits, right, to actually do something actionable with. But you'll see more of this becoming as they get better at it. They'll put it into the manufacturing process, and we'll see in the next 10 years. We'll see more quantum-based chips, right, coming out to the market. Other concepts like cloud native, right, have been around for a while now too. Composable architecture is getting some traction. The reason why this got moved over to more of a cloud compute cycle is because, again, everything's going over to cloud. Security has to be very cloud focused, right? Less and less on-prem. I'm seeing this even from refreshes, right, that are happening around the market. Large enterprise, take your pick. They're going to go refresh. 50% of that year is going to go cloud. 50% is going to get refreshed, right? So it's getting cut little by little. Okay, so the only hype cycle that really Gartner was able to put out was endpoint security. And why is that? Why is endpoint security so important, right? And why is it so detailed now? Again, we got more endpoints coming. You saw the original diagram there. It's massive, right, on the amount of compute that we have. Sorry, the battery keeps going in and out. So from a perspective of where investments are being done on the security front, we're seeing it more on the endpoint side right now. That is really what Gartner's focusing on right now. And again, there's a pause. I'm not saying this is the way the market's heading. I'm saying right now there's a lot of investment in R&D happening, and innovation that hasn't hit the market yet. And so there's a massive pause going on right now. A lot of companies are deep right now in coming out with new products and features and technology that just hasn't hit yet. And it will be AI focused, right? When it comes to something I thought was interesting just from an observational perspective was enterprise browsers, right? Becoming a bigger thing. Well, who uses Chrome or Firefox? Internet Explorer, or Edge right now, right? Take your pick. Market's going to push away from that because again, remote workforce. So we'll see. It's cyclical, yes, I do agree with that. Hey, and again, if anybody disagrees, please chime in. This should be a conversation. Yes.
Push away from that to what?
Push away from so enterprise browsers is more controls around the browser itself, right? I'll give you 2 companies I'm very familiar with. One is putting a lot of controls over what can actually be done at the browser level, right? Because they see that more from a remote workforce perspective. That's the apart from like the VPNs and all the other things that are going on. That is the way that the employees are getting their job done right now, right? And so you need more compliance around the browser itself, like they can't manage the OS necessarily, right? There might be they're taking the OS as an area of demarcation, right? And they're saying, okay, the browsers we're going to put the most control over it because that's the way into the organization now, right? So that's one example. Another one would be streaming browsers, right? So there's a lot of companies that are actually streaming the browser experience. So that content's not even running in your computer anymore. It's actually running somewhere in a server, often in a data center, and your experience and your latency is still about the same, right? So you don't know, you can't even tell that this is actually being streamed. It feels like just like a normal browser. Those are the type of enterprise browsers that we're seeing hit the market already. And we have a couple customers that do this right now as an actual product line. So we see the reality of it, right? Even though it's right in the innovation trigger perspective, right? So it's very early on. But again, you ask yourself why. It's all remote workforce driven, right? So right now, there's more compliance, right? There's more companies that they're still, have embraced remote workforce and they're still going that route. Even companies that are going somewhat hybrid right now, you're seeing the market it hasn't really gone full back in the office, and it probably will never be that case, right? You'll probably have hybrid at most. Most companies are taking a hybrid approach right now. So a couple different things on the emerging technology horizon. So again, XDR is still big, right? Mesh architectures, SaaS, SASE, right? Taking up. But this is really the one I really want to focus on. And I think there's a lot of head nodding every time, right? There's still a shortage of good cybersecurity folks, and I don't see that getting better, right? As many people as we can get as many good students as we can get out there. Still, we're gonna have a brain drain, guys. Look around, right? Look how old we are. Fast forward 10 years. We should have more young people here. Really, right? We don't. So there's gonna be a brain drain that's gonna occur, and we need that next generation to step up. AI is gonna be a bigger deal, right? It's not a solution, but it's a patch. It helps. Yes, sir.
I think that skilled labor that was gonna fall a lot on us in this room.
100% agree with you.
A lot of the gray hairs and
Yes.
younger than that.
Yeah.
Like I speak at STEM schools, I speak at colleges, I speak at a lot of different schools to try to get people excited about cybersecurity. Because if we don't, people aren't really getting into it because they think the schools are super hard.
Yeah.
And
It's also fear of the unknown too for a lot of people, right? I mean, in my family, I have a lot of nephews and nieces, and I told them about cybersecurity they asked me, where field should I go to, right? And only one of them listened. That person has a house and is doing well, right? The other ones didn't do that, right? So it's frustrating. I mean, even as somebody that's even within your own family circle, right? I agree with you. I mean, it's fear of the unknown. They think that it's only technology based, right? Security is a lot more than that, and it's an understanding, right? I mean, if you're a good PMO, for example, and you have a security mindset, you can do very well in the industry. Compliance, governance. I mean, there's a lot of different pieces that are very relevant. You write well. Go ahead, please.
It's across multiple industries as far as technology. Look at Taiwan Semiconductor,
Yeah.
how they can't start now until 2025 because they don't have the skilled staff
100%.
in that area. So.
Yeah, no,
That's because we're making a mess of it. We're telling everybody entering cybersecurity control, in a college, you have to take Calc 3.
Yeah.
You have to do this.
Yeah.
And if you're a governance and compliance law person,
Yeah.
who the heck cares about Calc 3?
That's 100% right. I mean, again, there are core academia problems going on, right? And it's not. And again, it's also trying to give a wider breadth of knowledge, right? And it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt anybody by doing wider knowledge, but there's a fear factor, right? It's too complicated. Oh, I'm not technical enough. That's the number one thing I hear about cybersecurity. I'm not technical enough. I mean, technology, yes, it's part of it, but you're not IT. You're cybersecurity. It's a different mindset, right?
You have technology or you're dead.
Go ahead.
You still better know the technology or you're dead.
You do, or you're a good.
I've seen too many people in
Yeah.
this business who don't understand the underlying technology.
Yeah.
And it's a disaster.
It can be in different positions, right? But again, you need people to skilled labor across the board, right? I mean, you need people to understand the law.
That's the difference between training and education.
Yes.
So the question is, do you need training or do you need education?
Yeah.
If you need education, you learn all the basic stuff, and if necessary, you can actually do an integrated curve across the compliance standard. But But if you need training, that's a different goal altogether. You just need to spell it out.
Yeah.
So you don't need to send people to four-year colleges for 18 months of training.
And we as an
And
industry
the
need to.
military knows this, I
Mhm.
might point out.
And they do, and again, try to get somebody. I've tried getting veterans out of the military, and they get picked up right away, right? So, but sorry.
Well, I mean, I think I definitely agree with the truth of like, you know, cybersecurity is viewed as a very technical job.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
But there is a truth to it in one aspect of like, cybersecurity is a risk-oriented job, not business driving. So it does appear in some way less, you know, attractive to some folks because they're thinking like, oh, how do I grow the market? How do I like expand what we're
Mhm.
doing as a business? What's the mission? So a lot of times I see it as like, how do you show people the mission of what you do? And
Yeah.
you know, the military, law enforcement, that's easier. But then when it comes to like corporate security or corporate cybersecurity, that's harder, and we can message that a little bit better.
Yep, 100%. I mean, again, this is ownership on all of us, right? Not a single. This is not a single person issue. This is the entire.
Yeah.
We are where we are at, right? And we have some realities, some hard realities that we're going to have to deal with, right?
And your previous graph showed all of the various things that we could show people and say, hey, we're in the industry today, look
Yeah.
what's coming next.
Yes.
We need your help.
Yeah.
So I
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I got some hands up there. So go ahead, please.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think one of our pitfalls is to think of cybersecurity as one thing career-wise.
Yeah.
That's like looking at medical as one thing. Medical could range from medical billing to heart surgery to EMT to para-rescue. These are all very important but very different skill sets. Similarly, when you look at SOC IR versus a pen tester versus GRC versus a risk analyst, these are all very important things and they're very different people, very different educational and training paths.
Yes, sir.
You know, even companies today are making it easier for kids to get into IT. So companies like Google, Apple, Amazon, eBay, all the big ones have dropped the college requirement.
Yes.
So if
More
they
and more.
go through the training,
Yeah.
training or whatever, they can get some skill set, at least
Yeah.
baseline skill set.
And go back to the point that was made about TSMC, right? I mean, City of Phoenix and Maricopa, their community colleges are actually doing a good job. They have a 10-day program, fast track program to get workers right up to speed. So they're you know, but there's a massive wait list on it, right? There's not enough instructors to go around.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So one of the programs that are out there for kids to educate them, I teach middle school and high school kids cybersecurity.
That's great.
Through the U.S. Cyber Patriot program. It's a national competition. It's actually spreading that internationally now. In Cochise County here in Arizona, we field between 20 and 26 different teams across the schools through our county, and we manage the training all through the Cochise College. And these are pipelines into industry. I have hired many of my students directly into jobs straight out of high school because they are skilled enough to start those entry-level positions. And being able to like link into those things to either do internships or something along those lines is a fantastic opportunity. If you guys are not aware of it, uscyberpatriot.org.
No, that's great. Go ahead. One more.
Let me float a crazy idea. So I've been part of a lot of these discussions, a lot of these efforts for a decade or so, and we still haven't really made a dent.
Mm-hmm.
What
I agree
if,
with that.
and this is crazy, what if we stop building broken software?
Wow.
It can be done. You know. Anyway, it's just an idea.
And it's not
Like engineer security into the software during the build?
Yeah, like AL7, normal method.
Yes, one more in the back. Sorry, one more in the back.
Thank you.
Inadvertently broach the difference between training and education.
Yeah.
Training is how you make up the problems created by those who were the
Nice.
Standing.
Nice. So you know, we're not a security company by any means, right? And I don't pretend to be. We have our corporate culture is very compliance driven, and there is a very strong security posture. And we don't do managed services, right? Zero. We do infrastructure building blocks is what we do, and we focus a lot on making sure they're secure, making sure everything's good. But I'm not in there managing people's data or touching their data by any means, right? We partner with groups like yourselves, with MSSPs, right? And you talk about like the entrepreneurial spirit. What happens if somebody has an entrepreneurial spirit in cybersecurity? They become an MSSP. We have different products that are geared towards infrastructure services. So our latest one is bare metal cloud, and in this product, it's actually very interesting because we do what's called it's web scale, right? So non-VM based, pure infrastructure, right? So companies that need massive amounts of compute, that's typically who we service. That's what we do as a company, right? We have not just from a space and power perspective, but from an infrastructure perspective. So a lot of API behind that, a lot of drive, and again, very compliant focus. So our organization right now, we're PCI DSS. We have a lot of HIPAA controls in place. Also, we get audited by multiple entities throughout the year. We have also FedRAMP as a sub, right, for several of our clients. AZ Ramp right now is active, and then we're going State Ramp as well. So that's some of the things that we do. 650 employees, 17 global data centers. This is our pride and joy right across the street, but we are focusing on building another one across. That's going to be about 500,000 square feet, and one of the intentions is to have a cyber range in there, right? So just throwing out to everybody. We believe in the community, and we believe that's how we can give back, right? And again, just a pitch for partner opportunities. If you have some interesting MSSP ideas, love to talk to you, right? Because again, we get the requests, we don't service the requests very well. Cool. Any questions? Any comments? I know I covered a lot of ground. It was very high level overview, right? Any agreements on the hype cycles?
I guess one clarification.
Yes.
When you're talking confidential compute,
Yes.
you're not talking like homomorphic encryption. You're talking like secure enclave stuff.
I'm calling secure enclave. Yes.
I was
Yes.
gonna say,
Yes.
that's still very larval.
Yeah. Secure enclave for sure. I mean, and just to dissect that a little bit better. So, a lot of the hardware manufacturers have built secure enclaves into their processors and the product lines, right? And the database sizes that they can support are very small. I mean, the first security enclave that came out was only 128 gigs. Sorry, 128 megs, not even gigs. Yeah, now they're up to like 2.5 gigabytes, right? That's one processor that can do that. Okay, what if I have metadata that's 100 gigs, and you start doing the numbers on how much compute that requires, right? So there are physical manufacturing issues why these things don't get adopted faster. Cool. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate the